Hello, this is Dave Sugarbaker. Today is the 17th day of March 2024, and I have a little bit of a psalm to share with you before I get started. This is from Psalm 118. It's the 24th verse. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. The psalmist, was it King David? Could have been. In roughly 1000 BC, looks to the new day as though it was the first day of creation, and it is good. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. 1500 years later, a Hindu poet wrote in Sanskrit. His name was Kalidasa, and he wrote this, which you may have heard before. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence. The bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of achievement are but experiences of time. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision, and today, well lived, makes yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. In the first two chapters of Genesis, we have two different stories of God creating the world. And one of the themes of the first story of God's creation is that what God creates, he reviews and he finds that it is good. God creates light and calls it good. God separates the waters from the dry land so that the dry land may emerge and finds it good. God creates vegetation and calls it good. God creates the sun and the moon and saw that it was good. And at the end of chapter 1, there's a summary. God saw everything that God had made, and indeed it was very good. All of God's creation was according to God's intention and God's plan. Even poison ivy, COVID virus, fire ants, and Burmese pythons. Following the creation story in the first chapter of Genesis, there's a second creation story in the second chapter. King David's scribes, putting together the religious traditions of the now unified tribes of Israel, had two creation stories on their desks, one from the northern tribes and one from the south. They did what King David wanted, and that was they included both of them. Since David's purpose in creating the scrolls in the first place was to unify these fractious, newly united tribes of Israel by including all of their religious traditions in one single scroll. And that scroll we know as the Torah, or the first 5 books of the Old Testament. That's how we come to have two different versions of how the world and everything in it was created, because there were two different stories from two different parts of the tribes of Israel. We human beings live in a 4-dimensional world. There's up, down, there's forward and back, and there's left and right. And those are the 3 dimensions, and the 4th dimension is time. The first 3 we understand pretty well, but time, not so much. I Googled it, and it turns out that we know how to measure time. We measure it in seconds or nanoseconds or in months or years, but we really don't know much about what it is. In the framework of our human experience, time moves from the past through the present moment and into the future. Physics says that time can be stretched or compressed by gravity or speed, but that doesn't really apply to everyday life. And other scientists doing string theory and things like that say that there are a dozen or so different dimensions. We only know about 4. But that really doesn't affect the fact that that's the life we live, and that is in a 4-dimensional world. According to the psalmist, there's no such thing as a bad day. No matter what happens, thank God. We are to rejoice and be glad in the new day as it arrives. As the Hindu poet says, everything is focused in the present, in this new day. Now, for some reason, as I was in the process of writing this, I thought at this point about Ebenezer Scrooge on Christmas Day. Now, Christmas Eve had been really hard on him, but Christmas Day was another matter. Listen to Charles Dickens. Scrooge runs to the window and throws it open. The fog that poured in at every chink and keyhole the day before is gone. The same fog that accompanied him home from his counting house that night to his melancholy rooms, where he encountered the ghost of Jacob Marley and the ghosts of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas yet to come. In place of the fog and mist is a clear, brisk, bright day with glorious sunlight, a heavenly sky, and fresh, sweet air. He can hear the church bells all around him ringing in the glorious day. Dickens says Scrooge was a changed man on Christmas Day who knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive knew how. Scrooge realized the day was his to make amends in. As Cat Stevens sang, "Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first word, the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dewfall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day." Or, in the words of the psalmist, "This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." Now, God bless you. Stay safe. And if this is of value to you and you find some meaning here, I'd appreciate it if you'd pass it along. Thank you. See you soon.